Hello and welcome to today's edition of GR Live. My name is Adam Conrad. I am the founder and CXO of Great Recruiters. We are an experience in online reputation management software for the staffing and recruitment industry. And I am joined here today with a good friend and industry leader here, Adam DeMarco of Loyal Source Government Services. Adam, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Adam. Nice to be here.
Well, it's nice. It's nice to have you. And Adam has, for those who don't know, Adam has a lot of background, about 20 years in the staffing industry. He has been with Loyal Source, was brought on 9 years ago for digital transformation. I know you are an early adopter of technology and have really leveraged that to help enhance the processes and experience across the service line for Loyal Source. But before we jump into that, give us a little bit more background on yourself and let us all know, how did you get into the staffing industry?
Randomly, it was about 20 years ago. Actually, I checked out last night. I don't want to date myself that old. It was about 18 years ago. Coming up here on May 5th is my staffing anniversary. Randomly, I just had a friend who was getting into it. Like most people, my first job out of college was enterprise, and like other people in staffing, they move from enterprise to staffing because it can be a little bit easier. And immediately just jumped in the therapy and allied world, and really loved it from the beginning. Being able to talk to people all day, help people find jobs, get jobs, and then from there, stayed at my initial company for about 7-8 years and grew, became a manager, started working with recruiters, and have always had the kind of passion for the process and how to improve those processes with recruiters, and just kind of continued with that with innovation. And then started here with Loyal Source about 9 years ago. And, I've really been able to see the company grow, which has been amazing, kind of going from a staffing company for our government partners to really a full service medical provider now for the government. The programs that we run, we're essentially staffing them for ourselves, and that can be like turnkey medical solutions. We have about 30 clinics on the West Coast that we staff that are Loyal Healthcare run clinics that help our veterans, providing medical disability assessments for them. And then, at different locations across the southern border where we're really providing staff for our own projects, not for, VA hospitals or things like that. So it's been cool to see it evolve. And, and one of those big reasons are because of technology platforms like Great Recruiters, and have been able to consistently provide staff along the way.
That's great. And taking that transition, you talk a lot, like, how do you differentiate? How do you move out of kind of feeling like we're the same? And, when you take the core of what recruitment is and you bring that in under a managed service umbrella, from a day-to-day, the staffing piece of it still exists. It's how you're adding that additional value of managing these projects and bringing it all in-house. How do you, through that, like with Great Recruiters, I know you implemented Bullhorn automation, formerly known as Herefish. Like, how have you incorporated these two pieces into helping you effectively manage these projects and programs?
Yeah, I tell everyone, and you're breaking up a little bit, Adam. I know we're having some problems on my side, but I think I got the gist. We have these great solutions on how to provide medical care to underserved privileges, our underserved communities, and our veterans. But all those programs, if they can't find staff, it doesn't matter. And that's really the biggest challenge in healthcare and healthcare staffing is, can you find the nurses, the doctors, the mid-level providers quickly, efficiently, and still providing, and bringing in quality medical providers. So without the technology and the platforms that we have, it would take an army of thousands of recruiters to do what we were able to do with a team of 150 or less. So the technology pieces like Great Recruiters, really help speed that process up and allow our recruiters to spend the majority of their day talking to people, as opposed to combing through a database or making cold phone calls. The goal is to talk to people, get them to work, as opposed to just trying to find people just to talk to.
Right, right. And let's go back. 'Cause I mean, the business since we've been working together is continuing to evolve. And let's go back to that. What was the challenge that Loyal Source was facing when you said, "Yeah, great recruiters is it"? What was the problem that you were looking to solve when you originally brought us on?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we originally brought you on, it was the same challenge that I think a lot of staffing companies see when getting reviews from their staff. It's a horrible experience at hospital XYZ, Loyal Source 1 star. When we're not the hospital, we weren't the manager that you hated day to day. Now, a staffing company plays a role in that. You don't want to staff people at places with bad managers, but so many of our reviews had bad experience at this hospital, Loyal Source 1 star, when we know our recruiters and our team were really striving to provide excellent customer service across the board from front to back. And bringing in great recruiters, we saw the results immediately. I mean, I think when we started, we were in the low 3s with our Google rating, and now we're in the mid 4s. And that's where it's been for the last couple of years. And the changes were
5 with 749 reviews. And I remember when we first started, it was in the 3s and it was low, and it was just the people that were throwing out hate, right?
Yeah.
You weren't capturing all the positive stuff.
Yep. And it was such, I think the big number too is not just the stars, but it's the number of reviews.
Yeah.
And I think, it's not just sitting there at 30 reviews. It's sitting at 700 plus reviews really shows how hard the team works. And when you are looking for a recruiter, that's your main point of contact, and you want to make sure that you're working with somebody that you like and is gonna, really the main things is gonna follow up and right. Return the phone call when you call, return the text when they're calling, and that's what we make sure our recruiters do. And I think the Great Recruiters platform really highlighted that.
And for down to the desk level for the individual recruiters, like, what are you hearing? How is having great recruiters helping them in their day, in their ability to connect with candidates, make more placements? Like you said, having the work doesn't matter if you can't find the right talent to fill it. So how is Great Recruiters helping to solve that for you?
Yeah, I mean, originally when we brought it on, especially kind of in that COVID push in 2020, we were getting a lot of referrals from Great Recruiters, and then turning around and being able to place them on those contracts. So it helped us tremendously when everyone needed staff, and you were really trying to find nurses at every corner of the world could help in this kind of those different times we were facing back there in 2020, mm-hmm. 2021. As we progressed, we moved more and more to programs to where we needed more of the same thing kind of over and over again. So it continued to be able to provide a lead source for our recruiters, but also give some insight into how our recruiters were doing, how many reviews they were getting back. There was a direct correlation between just the number of reviews that somebody was getting and the success that they were having on the program they were associated with. So, and that still continues today. You'll see our most productive recruiters are not only the most productive, but they have the most reviews and they have the highest reviews. And it just goes to show kind of their hard work and how much time and effort they put into their craft of being a really a great recruiter.
Yeah, and I think you guys are using the tool. The recruiters are, they're sharing that profile because, like you said, people don't know who to trust. And in the industry that historically has had a poor reputation as an industry, you need a way to kind of separate yourself from that. So when they're sharing, hey, looking at some of the reviews that you have, I mean, you have recruiters that have 230, 150, 50% response rate, highly recommended. Like when they can lead with that data and say, look, don't take it from me. We do the bragging for you. Like we don't earn the credit. We're just the platform. Your team earns the accolades, but we just help brag on their behalf. And so as they're sharing that and other people can see that other people trust this recruiter, you're going to call them back. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're hearing is through this and through sharing it, you're increasing referrals. You're getting into deeper talent pools because you're specializing in areas, and you're getting the candidates to call you back because you're trusted. I mean, you have as an organization nearly 9,000 reviews. That's
Yeah.
with a 4.8 rating. Like, this is an
That means,
organization that gets it.
Yeah, I mean, we obviously we place a lot of people. We have a lot of programs that require a large number of staff. That are usually around the same type of specialty or discipline. So it's just another thing that the recruiter can go to show, like, hey, you see, like, this is somebody else who has seen me work with me. They can see the reviews. The candidate can find it easily, and it's really just a great tool for them to have. And it goes across the business to where we can see how our team's performing day in and day out by just looking at the weekly leaderboard that we get every Monday. I mean, even I started we started on the platform 5 years ago, but it's still something that I look at every week. And in this last week, it was Jennifer O'Leary who was the top of the list. I think she had 49 reviews, was in there. So we have we're always looking at it, and it's a tool that is part of kind of our day to day. It's not even it's just part of our routine now, and how Great Recruiters has integrated into our business. And we had a second digital transformation here at Loyal Source 2 years ago, where we moved to a Salesforce platform. And one of our must-haves was to be able to bring Great Recruiters over, and you guys worked side by side with us, hand in hand, and we're able to get that integration going, and really remain part of our business and our daily recruitment activities. So that was a huge win for us, being able to have you stay with us as we transitioned into a platform that just gives us more granular detail on how our program's performing across the board.
No, and I love that we're able to support that. And it helps us. I mean, we're aligned with organizations that want to do more. And that's where I kind of want to get into, because I love, people start with Great Recruiters with something very specific in mind. I want to improve my reputation. I want to get more referrals. We just need more reviews. We want to empower our recruiters to be able to differentiate. That's where people start. And what I love is what we've done with Loyal Source, and I want you to kind of unpack that a little bit. How has Loyal Source evolved from just focused on the success you've had from the candidate and recruiter reviews to where else is this implemented through the organization, and how is it helping you manage the business that you guys are running?
Yeah, so just a little bit about our business. Like I mentioned earlier, that we're really staffing our own programs when we're doing this. We're not staffing for different hospitals. So we want to be able to see how all the different departments are doing throughout the life cycle of the candidate process from kind of start to finish. And and some of those processes that we run can last up to 12 months because they require a security clearance to go on site in some of these locations. So we want to be able to see not just how our recruiters are performing, but how our credentialing team, our security team, making sure that there's customer service being provided and our candidates are happy and expectations are being met, across the board. Because we could recruit 1,000 people, but if our credentialing and security and onboarding teams aren't, living up to that level of customer service that now the candidate expects, they could back out or leave the business as well. And the great news is that all the departments here at Loyal Source are holding that high level of customer service and maintaining those reviews. So as we look to progress with the tool, is how do we take it to candidates who are working and give us feedback on how we're actually managing our active staff and our program. So we'll continue as Loyal Source evolves and becomes this more and more focused healthcare company with our government partners. We'll bring Great Recruiters with us to help us along the journey.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And I think for those who aren't aware, where we started with Great Recruiters on recruiter reviews, we have taken that tremendous success and implemented it in other parts of organizations. So through our review prints, right, we have client review, the credentialing review. I think you're using onboarding reviews, on-sites, end of assignment, facility review. So this is where Great Recruiters evolved, and with the help and the push from folks like you saying, hey, we want to do more with this, right? That was what was pushing us. Hey, you're doing really well over here. How can you help us there? And that's what I love, is working with people that want to help you evolve the tool to solve more business needs. And now it's, it's total experience management. It's from the moment a candidate, engages with the recruiter, continues throughout that process for however long, all the way to the end of the assignment, and getting, as I say, collecting feedback at those meaningful moments, right? So you can ensure that quality of service from beginning to end. And you guys have done a wonderful job implementing that in a very smart way.
Yeah, and when you're the full service provider like we are, you really have to have those touch points and understandings. Like, listen, no division and no company is going to be perfect. So if we're seeing a higher rate of attrition or something's going on, we can use great recruiters to help give us some insight and help us maybe solve some of those problems of why staff leaving. Because again, it's a continuation of the cycle. Your recruitment team can only keep up with so much attrition and retention. So you have to be able to fill your positions, but most importantly, when you're running the program, they must stay there and keep those positions filled. Like, recruiting 1,000 people and then they leave 3 months after it starts isn't good for us. That means retraining. That doesn't look great in our government partners' eyes as well. So we have to get that insight and do those things, and we're able to do that with great recruiters.
And, when we started 5 years ago, I would say that, as we introduced, we were probably been in the market for about 2 years. So, I mean, you took a chance on a company that was proving itself, but it's certainly not where we are today with, hundreds of customers, all these great use cases. How do you measure the impact it has on your business? How do you measure that ROI from a business, and how has it come from like what was probably a nice to have to something that's like, no, it's a must have for us organization? What changed that level of nice to have, this is good, it can help with our reviews, to critical business system?
I mean, it was immediate, like the initial use case of just improving our Google review was, it was immediate. Like it skyrocketed from the beginning. So that ROI is, it's hard to kind of count or measure, but I know it's valuable. I know having a 4.5 is valuable compared to a 3.0 when looking at it. So, that's always going to be kind of like one of the core reasons why Great Recruiters is a must have. But as we evolve, our government partners are also asking how staff are doing and how they like working with LoyalSource. So we're able to give that feedback to our government partners that not helps us retain business, but also win new business as well. So the continuation of the ROI kind of goes down, and really, and then just at the granular level, we're able to see the production from our recruiters and where we might need to have some areas of improvement, and that helps long term as well.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about how are you leveraging, you mentioned, hey, it helps us maintain and retain this business, and it helps us, show them the quality that we're doing. And then you had said it also helps us get new business. How are you leveraging that to help you gain new business?
Yeah, and just like all of our, kind of tech stack partners, we want to be able to represent that, how we're this full service provider that, we can provide you with the solution, the medical solution, but also how we're able to find the staff, and Great Recruiters is part of that. So we're able to highlight how our recruitment team is not just successful at finding people, but also successful at finding people who are happy with the job and want to work the job, and long-term, like staying in the job. So we're able to take that information and then just weave it into the narrative of what is LoyalSource, and why our government partners want to work with us, short and long term.
Yeah. And what would you say? I mean, if you're talking to another staffing firm that isn't on Great Recruiters, I mean, what would you tell them? Like, I mean, do you feel like we've hit a point where if you're not using a platform like Great Recruiters and we're leading that charge, that you're kind of a little far behind?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny when you say a little far behind. When in 2019, when I was going to the Tech Stack conference, Staffing Tech, where I think we first met, and where I met, the guys from Hairfish and that whole team and those groups. I went into that conference just like scared almost that we were going to be so far behind the masses, and we're not doing the things that everyone's doing. And immediately felt better when we got into the first meeting on texting, and half the group wasn't texting in 2019, and we had adopted text us well before that. So I think that the first thing that I tell people is you have to adopt to technology. Like it's needed, and great recruiters is one of those things that's going to be able to help you at it's easy to install and connect to your systems. It's easy to get your recruiters to support it as well. Some things aren't easy in the change management, but great recruiters really is. Being able to look at other companies and let recruiters know, like, hey, this allows you to really market yourself to these individuals when you're recruiting them. So I would really tell somebody, hey, this gives your recruiters the ability to become like their own best salesperson and really be able to kind of push what they've been doing. And that's what you want to give your recruiters. Like it helps. Yeah. And it also helps acknowledge your recruiters. Like, last quarter, our recruiter of the quarter was, in that top 50 on recruiters. And that's what we called out exactly. Like, hey, this recruiter was there, and from there, those things open doors. And and that recruiter was recently promoted to a role that's more technical, more technology based. She's going to help more on our marketing team, blending recruitment and marketing processes. And a lot of that started by management being able to see, like, hey, this recruiter is doing such a great job. Let's take a little bit more notice on her and see what she's doing. And it's opened the door to 4 months later, she's getting a promotion out of it.
Yeah, that's a great story. And I've told business owners, like, hey, this recruiter, something's wrong. And I'm like, well, what's wrong? They're like, they're getting all these awesome reviews, but they're not making the placements. And I'm like, well, find out where they're stuck, or what you might have is a case of right person, wrong seat. Right? If you have somebody that people love, they're tied to your brand, people are raving about them, but maybe they're not having success because recruiting is not for everybody. Put them in a different role. And another story that they had never considered that, and they promoted the person to an account manager role, managing client relationships, and they're amazing. And and I think that's kind of like, I don't even call it an edge case. I just think that's another benefit when you start understanding down to the individual level what people are actually saying about your folks. There is a lot of hidden gems in there, from a training and development perspective, but also from an acknowledgement, like you said, like, maybe there's something bigger for this individual.
I 100% agree. And it was such a great thing to be able to kind of go through that process recently with her and have her, switch teams and taking on more and more responsibility. And I think she's only going to grow with the company in her new role.
That's outstanding. So as we're kind of wrapping up here on time, just want to get any of your final thoughts. I think what I see right now, and maybe this is a pointed question, is I think that there is some struggles in the staffing industry right now. That's just a fact. People are having a tough time. And I've talked to a number of people who are having great success. I'm talking to people that aren't. And I have my opinions of where people should focus to thrive in tough times. I think of back in 2008, what we did. But what are things that you guys are doing at Loyal Source to help your teams thrive in these difficult times? And what recommendations would you give other leadership out there of things that maybe they should be considering to do?
I mean, the biggest thing that, really that I would like to tell people is that, a couple of years ago when it was booming, it was easy. It was super, it was talk to the person, you had this enormous pay rate. It couldn't have been any easier as a recruiter. Like when that was going on, part of me almost wanted to kind of regress in my career path and become a recruiter again, because I was like, man, I can make a lot of money here really easily. Maybe I'll do both jobs. But no, now it's not as easy. And it's really upon, leaders to kind of take that inward look to see, how do I use technology and platforms like Great Recruiters to improve my processes, improve my recruiters, take the information that I'm getting back. Just like you said, hey, you saw a recruiter who was getting great reviews but very little placements. You have the information at your fingertips, but it's how you use it. So you can't have all these tools and spend all this money, which I know a lot of companies did when there was a lot of money coming in. So they started buying every possible tool, but they have to learn how to use the tools that they have, and learning how to use Great Recruiters or, a Herefish or whatever they have is important, especially when things are getting a little bit harder. And I think what a lot of companies are going to do is start looking at things and maybe start saying, okay, these are luxury items, let's cut them. But these aren't luxury items. These things are needed. And, it's really on the leader itself to find out the best way to maximize the tool and how to help the business through harder times.
Yeah, and I remember the call. You're like, hey, things are getting tough and everything, but GR is not on the list. Like it's not going anywhere. I was like, well, thank you for getting that out. But it's in where I think it's right on. I think it's, when things are so fast paced, it's tough to implement it. It's tough to make those changes because you're so focused on filling. In these times, to me, it's time for a little bit of reflection and a little bit of tough conversations internally. Are we really doing what we say we're going to do? Do we really have access to the best talent? Do our recruiters have the tools that they need to compete in a digital market where they're now not competing just with the recruiters down the street, but they're competing on a national level. And so what are you doing to help them stand out? And now is the time for me is where I say, make sure your foundation is strong, right? For everything else to be built on. I think it's about fostering and strengthening those relationships. And let's face it, your ability as a staffing firm is very simple. It is your ability to access talent your client otherwise can't access themselves. Because if they could, they wouldn't need you. And if you're going to win, and there's multiple firms, you need to make sure that it's not the candidates that everybody's fighting with. You need to get deep in your pool, and that's only through relationships and referrals and building that trust. And if you're focused on that, you're going to just be set up so much more for success, not just today to help you thrive, but when things get busier, and they're going to, you're not going to be trying to figure it out at that time.
Yeah, and the only thing I'd add on to this is you just have to be, responsible for the training as well. Like you have these recruiters who work for you and the staff that works for you and these tools. You have to make sure that you're training everyone to use them at its fullest capability and understanding the information and how to help your team. And, if somebody is having struggles with placements, figure out what's going on, or, is having some bad reviews, figure out what's going on and have those training moments with them. Because if you're just using it and just seeing it, it's just a tool that's in the background. Of course, people are going to think like, hey, that's something that we can, move on from because it's a luxury item. But it really isn't. It really is a tool that you need as a manager, as a leader, to help your team succeed and also help them improve.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to end on that. I couldn't finish it any better than that. We're up on time. Adam DeMarco, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your experience. I appreciate the partnerships, and I think there's a lot of great things in the future for both sides. If anybody does have any questions, what's the best way to get a hold of you, Adam?
Yeah, you can reach out on LinkedIn or my email, no problem, is ademarco@loyalsource.com.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, and kudos to all the success that yourself and the Loyal Source team are having. I just love to see the fact that you said it. It's intention. You just can't have a tool and hope it's going to work. And I love the attention and intention that you guys put into making everything work really well for you. It's been a pleasure, and have a great week. LinkedIn. Take care, and thanks for tuning in.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks, Adam.